Yep. You already know what it is. Southpaw Talk with Southpaw Slick. And today's video is going to be based on a question I just got from one of my coworkers. The same guy that I brought up before in another video, the 65-year-old. And he asked me, uh, you being from up north, have you ever dealt with racism? Because me and him, we've already talked about, yes, he's white, but he's cool. He's cool. But me and him, we already talked about, dealing with racism and stuff. Matter of fact, he said he dealt with it when he went on a mission, like that like church mission thing in Africa back in, I think he said, the 80s. And he got stranded on a bus, and he said that he was like scared for his life because they were the only white people there, and all these other black people looking at them like they were basically fresh meat, like looking to get a lick basically. And he was like, that was like a very tense moment for him, like that was the first time I actually felt like I was a target based on racism. And of course I told him about, my different situations in Catholic school when I went to Catholic school in 7th grade, and a few situations I dealt with down here. But I'm gonna get to it. I'm going to elaborate. But have I dealt with racism? Like I said, up north, not really. Not really as far as blatant racism or bigotry, but more so stereotyping. Of course, like I brought up before in the "You Act White" video, where I said, oh, you act white, you talk white, oh, you think you white or something. I've dealt with that a lot, especially during my adolescent years, and mostly from my own people. I've been criticized more by black people than everyone else my entire life, but definitely during my adolescent years. I guess if you want to call that a form of racism or stereotyping, that. But like I said, I don't consider that racism as much as I do like stereotyping, or at least not bigotry. When I was talking about dealing with a few situations in Catholic school, I think my white classmates, the majority, I was like practically the only black person at that school. There was another girl named Danielle. Surprisingly, I remember that. She was half white and half black. She looked mostly black though, but she was half and half. And there was a darker skinned Puerto Rican chick that was in 8th grade. And that was about it. Everybody else was white, right? Me being in that class, I think my white peers, they were a little bit too excited to have me around. You know what I mean? Like asking me certain questions about, hip hop culture and just black culture in general, like, or singing certain songs. I remember it was Max and Mike, and they were singing, rolling down the street, smoking in the city. Like they wanted me to sing along with them and everything. Like they were a little bit too excited to have me around. That's why I'm saying like that. I don't know. They made me uncomfortable. Like, yes, I know the song, but still, like, I'm not like a walking box of entertainment. That's kind of how they were treating me, right? But I'll say the big wake-up call was during our history class. My history teacher, I can't remember his name. He was talking about natural resources, gold in particular, becoming finite or basically disappearing, over time. And they're using gold for a lot of different stuff, especially nowadays. I said, you know what they use gold for a lot? Anyone? Then he looks directly at me and says, well, you should know. And I was like dumbfounded. I'm like, it was an awkward silence for like 3 seconds. And he said, teeth. And then the whole class started laughing. And I'm like, that shit was not funny to me. That was not funny to me. But the thing is, I was trying to be on my best behavior. So I didn't want to overreact. I didn't want to overreact because my mom was actually paying $2,000 just for me to attend that school. It's St. Gabriel in Milford, Connecticut. Milford is definitely very white, very white. Um, it actually got closed down back in, I don't know if it was 2015, 2016, because of sexual scandals in the church. You know, with how they say with those priests and the little boys. You know, you guys already know about that. But that was like the first time I really felt it, you know, as far as up there. Now, there was one occasion um, when we went to go see our grandmother in South Carolina years ago. I said, me and my cousin Tyler, I think I was like maybe like 8 at the time, and he was like 4, like 3 or 4 or something like that. And we were in the Briarcliff Mall, now known as the North Myrtle Beach Mall. We were looking for, I think it was Electronic Boutique at the time. I don't think it was GameStop at the time. And we went to one of the stores and we asked the guy behind the register, like, do you know where the game store is? And he's like, no, so why don't you just get out? And he said it in such a hateful way. I mean, before we even like said anything to him, I already noticed that he had a disgusted look on his face. Like he was like looking at us with contempt or disdain. You know, like, who are you, basically, you know? But I'm saying, but he said it in such a hateful way. And I was like, that was really uncalled for. And more than likely, he was an older white guy from the South. So I'm saying he probably, you know, he has those kind of thoughts, more than likely. Um, but I think that's the first time I really experienced a racist moment as far as from somebody white or somebody that was not black. Like I said, prior to that, it was mostly like, oh, you talk white, you act white. But as far as like just hating me based on the way I look, that's the first time I really felt it. Um, but the biggest moment in my life, it still kind of affects me till this day. I didn't even tell my mother about it until I think maybe the Philando Castile shooting. Yeah, because it was 3 years after the fact. It happened back in early 2013. It was on the west side of town, like the country club area, right off of Healy and Old Vineyard. There's a traffic light right before you get to that Greek store. I'm saying every time I see that light, it's like PTSD. I say I see that moment in my head. It like replays in my head. But it was me and my plug at the time, his baby mother, who was white. She actually came to come pick me up from the apartment complex I was staying in to take me to go see him so I can re-up. So we finally get to that traffic light. Like I said, right before you get to that Greek store. And as soon as she was about to make the turn to go on the street where the complex was, where he was staying, it was a brownish, like gold soccer mom van. As soon as she made that turn, that van turned right in front of the car. As soon as that happened, nothing but police lights came on. And it was like 6 or 7 of them, straight jump out boys. They hopped out that car, guns ready. Guns ready. And one of the police officers actually goes to the door. Well, first they tell us to put our hands up. Put your hands up, put your hands up. Okay, my hands are up. He goes to the door, gun pointed at the window. The door is locked. He tries to open it. He's like, open the door, open the door. So I unlock the door. As soon as I unlock the door, he opens it, throws me out the car. Same thing with her. They get her too. They throw her on the car, out the car, face first, just like they did me. Mind you, she was pregnant at the time with their second child. And like I said, they threw her on the ground face first. I said the same way they did me. I said, patted me down, just everything. Like I said, it was a horrifying moment. I'm saying just seeing that barrel of the gun flashing in my face, like I think the only reason we even made it out of that situation is because the street was really busy. I think if there wasn't that many cars or no cars at all, I think things would have turned out for the worse. And the only reason they stopped us is because you saw a black guy with a white woman in the car. That's all it took. That's all it took to set them off. Their excuse was, oh, the car looked suspicious. And I'm like, ain't that a bitch? I'm saying putting us all through this bullshit because of that. And like I said, I think they threw her on the ground face first because she was noticeably pregnant. They probably thought it was mine. That's what I'm saying. It's like, man, like I never forgot about that moment. And like I said, I told my mom, like I said, 3 years after the fact, because we were watching something on TV about Philando Castile, and I started busting out tears. And I broke down. I told my mom about the situation. I said, I never told you because I just wanted to forget that it happened. But something like that, you never forget. You never forget. And I told her, I said, that could have been me. Just to think, that could have been me on the screen. And she was like, I would have went off. I would have went straight down to that police cell. I was like, exactly. That's why I ain't say nothing. Because I know how you would be, But yeah, she definitely was empathetic, I'm saying, like, of course, like you could have lost your son. But like I'm saying, it was a horrifying moment. That was like the big wake-up call right there. That racism is not, well, I already know it wasn't gone. It's never going to be gone, right? But that's like a up close, real, serious moment that I felt. Like I felt the bigotry, the hatred, the stereotyping, all of that. And just to think, if I did get that weed before that happened, oh my gosh, that would have been crazy. It would have been even worse. But yeah, I'm saying we finally got out of that situation. We went to the apartment complex as planned. Of course, me and her tell my plug and her baby father about it, and he busts out laughing. Because the thing with him, he's been locked up so many fucking times, it's not even funny. So like shit like that doesn't mean nothing to him. Like him, he thought that was the funniest thing. I was like, that's just not funny, man. Like I said, we could have fucking died. Your baby mom and your child, I said your second child on the way, I said could have been gone if things went awry. But yeah, that's like the real big racist moment that I felt is with those jump out boys and that goldish bronze soccer van. Like I said, that shit was traumatizing. That was very traumatizing. But yeah, other than that, it's been mostly stereotyping. Like backhanded compliments, usually from white people. My very first interview when I was working at Canteen, Barry, who was my supervisor at the time, that was like one of the things that he said was, "You speak so well." And I'm like, thanks. Like that, like how else am I supposed to speak? It's like, I mean, it was like shocking to them at first. It was shocking and then became something that they embraced. Because the guy under him, he would actually ask me about certain words or what word can I use for this in place of that, when he was writing emails to the other companies they were working for. He would like come to me, like there was one instance where he was like, what's another word for like, like something really heavy, or I was like, cumbersome? Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. They were so excited to ask me about, certain words or like what can I use for this. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Usually stuff like that, like stereotyping, both from black and white. Well, also with black, it was more so like, oh, you act white, you talk white. White people, you don't act like other black people do. So it's like it felt weird on both sides. Like I said, I'm just a black sheep. No pun. Everywhere, I was saying, but those are like moments I've dealt with as far as stereotyping and racism. But break's about to be over. Southpaw Slick, I'm out.